Fernandez of Our News, of Our Magazine. I'm here today with Coach John Foster.
Hello, everybody. We're going to talk tennis today, Chris. John Foster.
Talk everything that we have to do, and who is John Foster, and why we're here, and what has led us to tennis today, and how you became a great tennis coach.
Well, thank you, Chris. We did this talk a long time ago.
Sure
what was it, 8 years ago?
That's what it was.
And Chris got me on to ambidextrous coaching, which he knew that I was doing. It's the future of tennis. It's not only the future of tennis for 10 and under. Our kids are growing up on the tennis court, and they're, I don't say deformed anymore because it kind of upsets parents, Chris.
Right.
So they're aesthetically imbalanced, and there's no need for it. And there's already proof, Chris, that you can teach the non-dominant hand. Look at Rafael Nadal. A lot of people know that he's right-handed. He plays left-handed. His left side's a lot bigger than his right. So it's already been proven. I discovered this, Chris, probably 20 years ago, more than 20 now, when I first moved to River Oaks. I'm working with some kids, and I used to pitch. I quarterbacked, so I'm a thrower. So I teach a good service motion, and I'd have the kid go righty, and then sometimes I'd have them go lefty, and sometimes I found out that they were better lefty than righty. And I'd turn to the parents and say, hey, they're left-handed, and the parents would have no clue. But I mean, you could just see that it's more natural for them and that they do it. So really, I've been working on this for about 20 years, and now I'm about 10 years on it full time, where all my students, they do it, and I have proof now that they can do both. I've done over 100 kids documented. You'll see it on footage where after 6-7 years old, I got 4.5-year-olds right now, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. They're throwing with both hands. They don't know the difference. By the time they're 10, they can serve with both hands. Now, this is something, Chris, that the people in the ambidextrous coaching, and I've had people call me, Chris, from California that do ambidextrous coaching on their own, and they like what I say, and hey, you got to be the leader in this, and it's the right thing, and we got to do it. And I talked to them, and I kind of knew that. And that was years ago. I really haven't talked to some of these people since, but we're real close in breaking it out. The USTA, USPTA, I'm friends with a lot of these people. My ex-boss and people, I know a lot of people, let's just say, that are up there, and I've said, hey, let's do this, and they've wanted, for it to wait till you get somebody that's really good at it. Well, here's the problem. I'm fighting everybody. I've been fighting everybody. When I train the kids, and a lot of times I'm doing the private lessons, and they go off and they go to other clubs and do their group training, okay? And the other coaches go, what are you doing? And they don't want them to do left hand, right hand. So they don't want them to do the left hand, so they'll teach them the right hand, or they'll work with them, which, it's a group situation, but still the coaches, they coach a little bit, even though they have the private coach, which is me. And they'll come back and the right hand is all thrown off. Because they're not, and I'm going, good, they didn't mess up your left hand. So there's lots of, in the future, I'll be hopefully speaking on this in the near future, at clubs and on events, and teaching the coaches the best way to teach this, because I'm an expert.
How would we fix that, Coach? How do we go from this is a standard, this is how it is, and it has to be? Why can't we change it a little bit? Just like you say, they don't listen. That they want to teach them the same old. What do you have in mind for USA tennis?
There you go. All right. Well, I mean, you've been telling me for a long time, and it's just time that I come out with my own platform and just say it, And so I have a book coming out. It's been a long time coming, but it's about American tennis, and there's a lot of things wrong with American tennis right now. We haven't had a champion since Andy Roddick in 2002, and I knew Andy since he was 14, and then I left. I came to Houston in '97. But Stan used to work with Andy Roddick, and then a couple years later, 2 years later, he's showing up in Houston playing with Andre Agassi at Westside, and then he winds up being #1 in the world For about 13 weeks, I think he was number one, but we haven't had a number one since, and we're not going to have another one in the next 3 years. That's 23 years,
23
Chris.
years, right.
23 years.
And I've seen that, and I've seen every other country but the United States put out a
they're all,
professional champion.
you know,
And it all has to do with the fundamentals. And is it all, everything that has to be done with association, USTA, USTPA? What are we looking at? Who needs to make the change?
okay, well,
And how?
well, there's a lot of, I have, in the book, I have about 5 chapters. I might have 11. I keep kind of adding a chapter here and there. Plus, it's called Problems and Answers. So not only, I cover the problems, but there's answers to it. And it's all debatable, and it's not just me. I'm not doing the book on my own. I'm talking to the best of the best, and I'm hoping to get Andy Roddick to read the book and answer questions for me, and hopefully be on his show, and we can talk. That will help before the book comes out, because these guys, I believe we're all on the same page. Johan Creek was one of the first ones in the last year that really came out and said, hey, the USTA, and he blasted them. I mean, Johan Creek was 3 in the world. He's got nothing to hide. They can't hurt Johan Creek. Could they hurt me? Yeah, I mean, they could hold me down a little bit. They're not going to hold Johan down. So Johan can say, hey, USTA, they're not spending the money right. They're doing this. We can get into some of the problems and
Now, Coach, I hate to interrupt you, but one of the things that I know you've told me in the past was the whole thing with the USTA in the past 70s, 80s was you're looking at the red ball, orange ball. Can you explain that and how it has slowed down American tennis instead of speeding up and getting us to a championship, Coach?
Well,
or a championship player?
You picked a good one, Chris. He's been listening. Okay. There was a time where Tim Heckler was the USPTA CEO for like 30 years. He did the Billie Jean King, Bobby Riggs. God bless him, he passed away, Tim Heckler. But I got to know him pretty good the last couple of years when he was still USPTA director. And I coached his son, David, when I worked with a Russian girl on the tour a little bit. So, he allowed me to have David. And in fact, I'm talking to David, and I have to talk to Tim's wife and get more insight on this, and a few other people. I'm going to have insight from the inside, but Tim didn't like this orange ball, red ball, green dot, and for the little kids so that they could play on a small court with a smaller racket and hit the ball back and forth. Now, I've heard that Wayne Bryan was adamant and against this, but I have yet to talk to him, so I hope to talk to Wayne Bryan. That's his Bryan brother's father. But then he kind of shifted a little bit. I think it's good, but you got to move the kids out of that right away. And Tim didn't feel it was good for development. Wilson, the manufacturer, they had to make sure that the USPTA bought in, the USPTR bought in, and the USTA bought in all together so that everybody had to use these rackets and balls. But so 10 and under, you had to use these rackets and balls so that way they can do the deal. Tim wasn't so high on that, so I think there was a little problem there, and they pulled a little coup, and Tim was no longer pulled from there. And I'll say right now, there was only 2 people that were celebrities on the executive committee, and that was James Lauer and one other doctor, Jack Groppel. Okay, and those were the only 2 celebrities that everybody else is an executive USTA. But they fought it. They said, look, you can't do this to Tim. And, I just remember that much. I don't know the facts yet, but I plan to dig a little bit deeper and give you, in the book, I'll give you a deeper,
what year was that, Coach?
Deeper dive. Wow. I wish I could give you a year right now. It's like
sure this is one of the
over
issues.
10 years ago. I should have a year for you. I don't right now, but over 10 years ago,
This is
maybe
one of the
10, 11, 12
detrimental
years
issues
ago.
of why USA tennis is the way it is right
Now, well, here's the problem with the balls. they slap at the ball. They do this motion where they hit it and they rely on gravity. And that brings us to another point, which is another chapter, the red ball, orange ball, yellow, green dot ball. That whole thing is one chapter. Another chapter is the philosophy of how American tennis is taught. It's not working. And that I'm real big on. I've been big on it for a long time. There's 5 ways. Well, let's wrap this up with the balls, okay? They slap at it. It's hard to change that. If somebody's been doing something for 2 or 3 years and just slapping at the ball and letting gravity bring it in and they're not rolling the ball with topspin, and when you go play real ball and you got to roll it, you slap at it, it's hard to transition. You might quit before you learn how to do it, and it just doesn't make sense. You teach them one way and then they got to go another way, and not only that, but you got kids. I can teach a 7-year-old to beat 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds. Now, there's a few other coaches, and a few, not that many. I mean, what, 100, 200? I don't know, but it's not a lot that can do that, and that's a problem. We got to bring up. That's another chapter. You got to bring up the coaching level, which, by the way, that the USPTA is no longer in existence. Well, it is, but it's the United States Professional Racket Association. So they combined all the racket companies together. Why? Money. Well, it makes sense if you have sponsors, and so now it's not just tennis. You got, I believe, table tennis, badminton, pickleball. So the sponsors can go in 10 different areas, and they're getting a lot more exposure. But, and then here's another chapter for you, Chris.
Sure.
Pickleball, and the USTA sold out tennis. I'll say it right now. They sold tennis out, people, and they haven't. They haven't made it back yet. They sold it out.
You heard my whole pickleball
Holy
thing.
mackerel!
When it first came out, I was like, "Wait a minute, coach. This is not professional. How can you say, and how can professional athletes say this is competitive?" I've looked at it. I've seen 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds playing pickleball. There's no way that this sport is competitive.
It can be done. I mean, they're doing it. They got tennis players, but here's the problem too: the coaching level in tennis hasn't gotten there. It hasn't gotten there, Chris. 2 years ago, and I'll give you an example. I'm working with some ladies, and I've worked many country clubs. I'm from Florida. I've been around. I've been in New York. I lived in New York. I've been in Texas, and Texas is a section, not a state. So I know a lot about Texas tennis. And I could go into a grocery store right now, but I don't need to go to the grocery store. Let me give you an example of 8 ladies. 6 of them would show up that have been playing 20 years, 15 years, 18 years, 21 years, and I say, okay, let me see your forehands, and I feed them a ball like like I've done for 40 years since I learned in 1985, started teaching tennis, and none of them have a swing. There's no continuity to any swing. They don't know what topspin is. I have a big problem with that. If you've been taking lessons for any time and you don't know what topspin is, that's the main problem with tennis. I was listening to Brad Gilbert the other day talk about, well, we need tournaments in America. No, we need topspin in America. Topspin is that simple. Here's the criteria for the philosophy of coaching. Consistency, number 1. Number 2, direction. Number 3, direction, depth, short, deep. But consistency, don't miss. Chris, if I teach somebody, or you do, or anybody teaches somebody, and you teach them for a year or two, slow, control the ball, okay, push the ball over here, hit it slow, it goes over there, hit it, that way it goes direction, and then hit it harder, it goes deeper, and then I got all that, and I've been doing that a year and a half, and I'm beating most of the people that do it. I'm real good at it. But I got no, and then after you did all that for a year, 2 years, and I'm beating everybody, then I go, now we're going to teach you topspin, okay? And then after you get the topspin, then we're going to teach you power. It doesn't make sense, and I'm going to explain this. It's horrible. Now, they go play a kid from South America or from Europe. What's he doing? He's Rafael Nadal on you. Whoa! and the topspin's coming. And so this kid has been playing for 3 years and beating all the American players, can't get a point from this guy. And the balls are whizzing by him, and he's going to get hurt because he doesn't even know what topspin looks like that. So, hey, coach, what are we doing? What are we doing? I can't play. Don't worry. We're going to get you. We're going to teach you topspin. You got to learn topspin, and then we'll get going. What have I been doing for 3 years? I'm done. You know. So, I hope you get my point. This is where it's at.
Right, coach.
So,
you know, in speaking about that, since we've had the experience of playing with kids from Peru, Colombia,
they know topspin. They can play.
And these kiddos can play. And I know you've seen them on the court.
They can play. They learn topspin.
Right.
And maybe it's because they do the clay courts and they got the Spanish guys and they're all. You gotta. I teach topspin at 4 years old. I got 4-year-olds that can beat 10-year-olds with topspin. It's crazy. You'll see the film. Okay? Well, not 4.5, 5. Seriously, they're ripping topspin. Wait till you see it.
Yes.
How do you hit topspin? You need racket speed. If you don't learn how to load up and explode when you're 5 years old and learning to load and explode into it. I just have a girl, Tia. I worked with her since she was 5, 6 years old. He knows her well. You guys, anybody that watches me knows. She's playing for the University of Wisconsin. Anyhow, I was teaching her how to load and explode, and it took me 6 months to get her out of her dad's hands because he was ruining her, you know, because I saw the talent. He's hitting the ball. Let me show you how to do it. And I finally got her number 1. Actually, she wasn't number 1 in Texas. She was number 3 at 10 years old in the United States. She played Little Mo. And Little Mo's daughter said something very nice about her that was big. Like, I haven't seen somebody who reminded me of my mom. And it went right over her parents' head and everybody's head. I have the tape. She gave her a big compliment. Big. They didn't know how big it was. I got it saved, okay? And then the next year, she got number 2. And guess what? A month later, I went to Austin, which is an hour and a half away, and watched her beat that player that beat her by 2 points. Take her out in 2 sets. Another Russian girl, much bigger than her. So really, number 1, you know, at 11 years old. That's the only national tournament for 9, 10, 11-year-old kids, okay? You don't have any national tournaments under 12 years old. So, and then you got the Orange Bowl, of course, which I went down and watched her play in the Orange Bowl. Anyway.
In your book, Coach, what other chapters do you have, or what will be the next chapter in your development in, you could say, revolutionary platform as far as fixing tennis, if there is a fix?
There's a fix, okay, with the pickleball. It has to be, and I've already started putting it out there. I already know, and I knew it months ago. We'll say it now, we'll get it out there. There has to be a transition, and I'm talking to people, I say, how many of you guys played, and I film it, how many of you guys played tennis before? And there'll be a few of them that play, and some of them not. And I said, wouldn't you like to learn how to play tennis now that you know how to do that? So it can transition, but I don't see them, the USPTR Racket Association, I don't see them advertising, hey, come back to tennis, because they think that, dig this, Chris, they think that tennis is up, and tennis is showing numbers up. It's up 15, 20%. And it took me a while, and I'm going, how is it up? Nobody's playing tennis. They're all, the pickleball courts are full. In fact, the tennis courts are full. But there's nobody playing tennis, they're playing pickleball. And this is across America. Across America. And then they're taking down basketball courts to teach it.
I'm trying to buy a house right now.
Yeah.
And you know what the number 1 thing is, the new home building and subdivisions?
Pickleball.
It's trying to build a pickleball court instead of a tennis court.
Now,
so you're absolutely correct.
Yeah,
Coach.
you can put the pickleball courts. In fact, I like the lines of the pickleball court on a tennis court for training, but you can put 2 pickleball courts, if not 4, on one single tennis court.
Correct.
Lifetime Fitness just invested it all across the country. Boy, the USTA missed this one. Okay, if Tim Heckler was in charge of USPTA, there's no way doing this deal with Lifetime, because if Lifetime has, I'm sure they got money from USTA to build those courts, okay? Because they'll give them money, okay? So they probably gave them, if it costs $800, I don't know if it's half they give them 400,000 per facility, but they have the money. So they've invested. But what did they invest? They invested not in tennis, they invested in pickleball. So instead of bringing tennis, which is really coming around, and growing tennis where the majority, I mean, we're going to have another, I predict it, Chris, we're going to have another 70s explosion of tennis players as soon as we fix this problem. Mark my words.
Yes.
So call me Darwin, you know. Okay, but I'm going to predict the future. One serve, because of ambidextrous tennis. This is another thing on ambidextrous tennis. They're not going to raise the net. They're not going to shorten the box. You get one serve, my friend. So that's coming when ambidextrous tennis reaches the pro level. And that's, I think, is 10, 15 years away from now, because everybody should be doing it. The kids are healthier, they're smarter, they're better athletes, and their body's balanced evenly. They might quit. If you have a kid, 6, 7 years old, and I have kids that I've been teaching for 5 years, from 6, 7 to 12, and then they did quit. I have the videos. I got 2 good videos. Their arms are the same, their shoulders the same. They'll probably never play tennis again for maybe many years.
Yep. Just let everybody know where we can find you and what topics we covered today.
Okay, yeah, we covered a lot. There are a few other topics that need to be covered. Tournaments. I know tournaments in Texas, and then international training, college tennis. You know, most players are from other countries. 60% of players aren't from the United States. So, you know, we're not doing what we got to do to train our talent. So we got to fix that around. Well, we talked about the balls, you know, how training one way with the balls, you learn bad habits. It's hard to break those habits. We talked about the philosophy of training, the 5 levels, you know, consistency, direction, depth. Then you learn spin and you learn power. It's got to be spin first. To hit spin, you need power. And then it's real easy. You hit the ball cross court, you hit the ball here. You hit the ball down the line, you hit the ball here. You hit the ball inside out, you hit it a little later, okay? You want the ball to go short, you use more topspin. You want the ball to go longer, you use more follow through. Same rhythm, different. I mean, I teach all that in one day, in the first lesson. Watch some of my before and after. I do a 10-minute lesson, and they say they played for 2-3 years. They can't play, and they can play in 10 minutes.
Right.
So that's what's coming. I can teach somebody. I brought somebody from the A level, from a beginner level to 1 year where they could play tennis. A level. They played at Sweetwater Country Club, A level in 1 year. So you know what? You know what we got to do? We're going to have a little competition in America. Okay? You got to document it, and we're going to come up with systems of training. I have my own system of training. I think I can do it in about 6 months, where somebody's playing at A level a game in 6 months or 8 months, not even a year. And that's the ticket. And so when you have it documented and you have your curriculum, we put it together, and those are the curriculums that need to sell, the ones that work, because it hasn't worked in the past. 80% of the people don't know what topspin is, don't know what underspin is, so we have to come up with something that we agree upon. USPTR had the system of, which I use, you know, where you get better, progression. I teach progression. Got to have progression. And if you're not doing it at over 50%, you got to drop back till you do. But they got to learn how to hit topspin first.
Sure.
All right,
And
Chris.
also,
Well, we can wrap it up.
We can wrap it up, and we can also talk about, you know, who you were and who you are and where we're going with this. And
Okay.
you tell us at the outset who you were. Just want to make sure that folks know who you were, who you are, and where we're trying to go and where they can find you.
Okay. You can find me at johnfostertennis.com. The website's going to be upscaled, and you'll be able to see some of the accomplishments I've done, who's given me accolades in the past, and it's pretty high. I do get results. Made hundreds of college tennis players. When I was on the pro tour, I had girls, mostly the girls tour, they'd come into me, hey, how do I hit my forehand, backhand, the other thing. It would have worked. We'll get back to it. I'll have a pro team. I'm looking to have a pro team. So if you want to play pro tennis, give me a call. I can write the plan for you and tell you how long it'll take, and we can work it out. Okay? I have the plan. A lot of people don't have a plan. You go to them, well, you know, I used to say, Tia, what plan do you got? How's he making you a pro tennis player? How are you going to be great? You got to you can't be great if you don't practice great things. That's another thing. Okay, I've watched all these people for years and years, and it's very mediocre. You can't play mediocre and then bring it to great. You got to practice great, and you can fall back on excellent. Anyway, John Foster, check it out. Thank you, Chris. I enjoyed this today.
Appreciate
I hope
it.
I didn't scare a lot of people today.
I want to make sure that a lot of our viewers and whatnot understand that tennis at one time was the most watched sport.
Yeah, it was. It'd be
Something
above
that was
basketball.
more.
It sure
Yes.
was in the 70s.
Yes,
they were
it
on the
was.
page.
Yes, sir.
John McEnroe and Andy Roddick. Watch Andy Roddick. You want to watch a great show? Oh man, I love it. He's genius. I didn't like him so much when, I knew him as a little kid. Elbowed me in a basketball game one time. I told you about that, and a little punk. I didn't say anything to Andy, It's a good thing I didn't. He's a big guy now, So, but friggin', I love him now, man. I mean, he's spot on. And Jeff Tarango, shout out to you. I'll be talking to you and a few other people. So, look forward to my call, and we're going to talk about this tennis problem and get it fixed.
And just folks know, I met Coach back in 2016, did our first interview, and it was an ambidextrous coaching, and that was the type of interview we had. And since then, Coach has gotten to get on the court and interview John McEnroe. And I thought that was one of the spotlights and focuses for Coach at that time in 2018. It was a big thing, big deal for Coach. And
I did Jim Courier and Juan Ferrero, and Andy didn't talk to me.
Yeah, he wouldn't talk to us.
Anyway, no. He was nice. He said hi. But, and I know Andy, we used to have parties over his house as coaches at the Everett Academy. He's a good guy. He really smart, really smart. And appreciate him now. So he's doing good for tennis. He means good for tennis like McEnroe. McEnroe was the beginning of the 70s, and Andy was the end of American tennis. Now there's nothing.
Right.
Now we got little countries that are playing better tennis and producing better players that are smaller than California.
Right.
Italy, Spain.
Correct.
Unbelievable. What can we say?
I think our focus in tennis has changed totally.
Well, it has.
And how it does, it's something that we need to go ahead and focus as personal, on the personal focus and see how we can make things different and better.
Well, we got the ideas, and I'm going to talk to a lot of people out there. I'll be calling you, and we'll talk. And I haven't finished the book, so there's always rewrites on there, and I can get your ideas, your suggestions, your problem. Add some stuff to it, and it's also answers. I'm not only giving the problems; I'm giving answers too. Right. So there's an answer to everything.
Coach, as Sylvester Stallone said, we're not writing screenplays; we're rewriting. So, Sylvester Stallone, thank you for those words of encouragement, and we know that we have to change things, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to rewrite.
We're not trying, Chris. We're doing it.
We're going to do it.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.